Welcome to the Girl Dad Show.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Girl Dad Show. Andrew, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me on your show. I was excited to be here.
I'm super excited to interview you. Let's jump right in. So why don't you tell the listeners what you do for a living?
I own and operate Rush Bowls. We have a franchising. We're building out our wholesale line. So we're in 25 states. We have around 60 stores. And I built this business I started the business in 2004. And we only started franchising in 2017.
Oh, wow.
So I own the company. I'm not private equity. What's good for our partners, our franchisees. So we really work at a collaborative business serving health and wellness in bowl form or smoothie form. So we don't deal sorbets. We don't do junk. We do bowls and smoothies, fresh and blended fruit and vegetables with very healthy vitamin supplements and whatever else. For you. These are meals. So it comes in a 16-ounce bowl or a 24-ounce smoothie. And these are healthy meals to go. And like I said earlier, we're a health and wellness brand. So we focus on health. And if you're gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan, anything could be custom ordered for you. So
awesome.
Everything is to your needs. And since we're franchising, if you want to look and find out more information about us, you can go to rushbowls.com. That's rushbowls.com to find out a ton more information. And you can reach out to me directly.
I love that. You're directly. I love it. You're the franchise development person as well.
Well, not really, but I'll transfer you to the
I love it. I love that accessibility. I love the name too. It's very, very on point. I love it. I'm assuming it's like trying to cater to that, eat healthy, but make it effective for people's lifestyles.
Yeah, definitely. And there was a lot of thought that went into that. About 20 some odd years ago. So.
It's amazing. And I would say it's actually a little bit ahead of its curve. I mean, there was a little bit of a swell for these kind of products and then kind of died down. And then it kind of sounds like you're leading the charge for the second wave of it.
Yeah, we were the first to market on it.
Oh,
we were
really?
doing bowls in 2004. No one even knew what a bowl was.
Yeah.
I started a wholesale company and you never want to be in the teaching business. And we really were teaching people what a bowl was. Even in kind of like organic hemp granola, people were like, oh, I'm going to get stoned on. I'm like, no, you're not. It's not that type of granola. It's health and wellness. And even like in some of the Midwest, mango wasn't as prevalent as it is now. People were like, what is this fruit?
Wow.
Really, no one was even knew what acai was really that much when we started doing bowls.
Wow.
And we started doing bowls. It was a big feature of our product line.
It's amazing. I have to ask, what made you start this business? Did you always grow up in food, or is this something that came about by some circumstance, or what was the origin story?
Well, I have actually writing a manuscript about it, wrote it pretty much, but I was global head of derivative trading in New York City. So,
oh my gosh, you were a finance guy in New York.
I was a finance geek, and a professional gambler for the banks. So I worked at Bear Stearns, Morgan Stanley, Credit Lyonnais, was global head for National Australia Bank.
Amazing.
So I was a professional gambler.
Yeah.
I took very large positions on behalf of the bank. So I didn't broker it. I actually took the positions.
Wow.
And it was all fixed income institutional derivative trading. So very, very mathematical, bets on interest rate curves, currencies, futures, all sorts of fun stuff. And I did it and worked my way up to, a big position there, but it was very, very stressful job.
Yeah.
I did that for a long time, and the highs were lower and the lows were lower. So you live like a life in that position it's not real either. You're treated extremely well. I think they say, youth is wasted on the young, and it was somewhat in my case. I was taken out all the time, fine dinners and wines, and I didn't even know what half of it was. So, but really a big trigger was I was burning out on that, which most people in that field don't last even that long. 9/11, I was living in Manhattan during 9/11, and I worked in Midtown. My wife was in the tower in 93, the first time they bombed it. And she was really high up. And her first day back from maternity was 9/11. She was in the 20s. I was in Midtown. And it was pretty catastrophic for us and for a lot of people. And I decided right there that I'm going to not bring up my kids in New York City and
Yeah.
I'm going to move to Boulder, Colorado. I always had the
Cool.
West in my mind.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do something that I had zero knowledge about.
Yeah.
Most importantly, in the trading world, you're like mine, yours, jump high, like do
Yeah.
what I say quickly, and you're making decisions every second. And I wanted to socially interact with people because I wasn't getting that in a work environment.
Yeah.
And that really brought me to one of the most social things is food,
Yeah.
something that everyone can love. So A, I wanted to move to Boulder. B, good schools, major airports, you
Hmm.
can easy accessibility. Outdoors was really important to me. And then I wanted to get into something I had zero knowledge about. I was lucky, because I was really good at what I did. So it afforded me the luxury of taking a big gamble when I probably should have taken a gamble when I was in my early 20s, right?
Hmm.
Or,
Yeah.
later, even earlier, but not as late as I did. Wanted to really, my viewpoint was very different coming into the food industry. So, I was financially very, I would say, savvy. I understand finance really well.
Right.
And I wanted to make sure I started a business to minimize the risk as much as possible. So, we have low labor count. We have no food spoilage. Everything comes in IQF, flash frozen fruit, which is healthier than fresh, doesn't degrade. Or we'll put fresh fruit toppings on it, but we don't really have food waste. So it was really a big deal for me. And then a small footprint, so relatively small. So like 1,000 square feet is ideal size for us. So I wanted to get really into it, but I wanted to do it in a smart manner. So I bought a house, I started a business, and that all happened in '04. And and I knew just based on my personality, I would make it work. If I had to dig ditches, I would dig ditches. It's
Hmm.
one of those things that
Yeah.
you really have to make it work.
That's
So, and
awesome.
that's where it all started.
That's amazing. But I still don't understand why you chose that food product, though. I mean, I get the food kind idea of connecting people and wanting that almost that opposite of what you had in finance. But why healthy bowls, especially if no
It,
one even knew what that was? Did you know
you
what it
know,
was? How did you know?
what it was
Yeah.
is I was in New York and I had two really little kids.
Yeah.
And the choices were a hot dog, pizza, chicken fingers. There were no
Right.
healthy choices
Right.
anywhere. And it really bothered me. And I'm not a health nut, but it bothered me that there was no these options. You're talking, 22 to 25 years ago. So you're not talking how things are today.
Yeah.
And I am a texture guy. And I didn't want to start a smoothie business. I had a buddy who was doing a smoothie business in Arizona. So it gave me a little knowledge about it, but I didn't want to do smoothies. I wanted to do meals.
Yeah.
And since I love texture and texture my food, I was making these different concoctions and I would add granola, I would add peanut butter, I would add almond butter and different things
Mhm.
to it to be a meal. I felt that it could be really changed to meals. And to this day, noon is our biggest hour. Like
Oh,
lunch
wow.
is our biggest part of our business.
That's amazing. So people are
Yeah.
genuinely swapping out their lunch for a healthier bowl.
Yeah. So
That's
who are
awesome.
competitors? Subway, you know, uh, 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 McDonald's, like
Any
lunch
QSR, yeah,
places,
any quick
right?
service lunch restaurant, yeah.
And except we're 350 calories and super nutritious and don't put sugar in our food, opposed to all the other junk that's out there. So
Yeah,
that
that's
that's
awesome.
really, and we're not preachy about it. Like you want Nutella on top, happy to put Nutella on top.
Yeah.
That was really important to me because I want to start with a really incredibly healthy product, but I want people to feel comfortable no matter how they want it, right?
Yeah,
So
make it accessible. Yeah.
right, and then gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan, however you want it. You want to, you want strawberries instead of mangoes. You want oat milk instead of like who cares? We're here to
Yeah.
support you,
Yeah.
and that was really important
I
to me.
love that. That's a really good ethos. So, would you say, is it safe to say that the kids actually kind of inspired it?
The kids inspired it. They were a little young at the time, like 2 and 5, but the
Yeah.
thought of them having healthy options was really important to me.
It's amazing.
Not just those kids, like college kids, and not my
Yeah.
kids only, but college kids in general. So when I went to college,
Yeah.
it
You're
was
right.
like it was awful. There was nothing to eat. Like Burger King was your
Go
healthy
to.
meal, and it
Yeah,
was so
exactly.
pathetic.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
fascinating.
just the thought of, especially Boulder's like a cool town and is a health focused town, that was really important to me.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's kind of fun to be able to ask this because it sounds like you have adult children now, which is
Yeah.
awesome. But what do they think about what you do for a living?
I think it's evolved, honestly, because
Yeah.
my kids worked in the business.
Oh, that's
So
awesome. Since
yeah,
how old? Since how old?
I believe in child labor if it's my kids. So,
Yeah, yeah,
as
perfect.
young kids, I had them working, whether it was ringing up
Yeah.
or making it. So it was part of their, growing up, they had the business, which I was really proud about because I think nothing's easy, right? Like,
Right.
and it was important for them. And I think ultimately make them much more successful seeing how business really truly operates.
Right.
you know, there's challenges in a lot of fronts. There's wins, there's losses, there's employees, good ones and not so good ones. There's suppliers that short things there's a lot of intricacies to it. And they were really aware of these intricacies early on. And I was
Yeah.
very open with them from day one. As a matter of fact, I think looking back at it, I probably was almost too open about things, but I was very, very open about everything from day one and wanted them to see everything from day one because I thought it was important.
So
My big
cool.
takeaway on that too was I didn't anticipate how incredibly proud they were of the business. I didn't even think about it that way
Hmm.
until I hear them talking about, like, that's my business, that's our business, that's our family business, this and that. They were
Wow.
really, really proud of it. And I never really, that was one of the happiest and biggest surprises of it.
Yeah, especially coming from like Morgan Stanley and finance derivatives, I mean, you have pride, but you don't have pride at that level, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, they all have a place and they're great companies, but you're kind of a number.
Right.
Exactly. Where I feel like this is probably the antithesis of that, where they're literally like remembering their times as a kid pushing the cash register and learning about those customers, needs and wants and getting to grow up in it, in their entire journey of childhood. That's freaking amazing.
Yeah, and just the different things that went on and eating tons of bowls and smoothies.
I bet you they know their stuff really, really well. They probably have a really fun concoction, some sort of special customization one, right?
Yeah, yeah, they definitely do.
Yeah, I
So,
can't wait. That's awesome. I got to try one. Moving into it now. So now, what do you think? I know you said that they showed a lot of sense of pride and they've evolved and they've always been in the business. But now that they're adults, do you think that they're gonna want to come back into the business, or are you sending them off to college to do something else, or what does that look like for you?
well, I was brought up really, it was free choice, right? In
Yeah,
many ways. Like I wanted them to explore and do different industries. So
yeah.
my daughter's in her last year of law school. She's starting in
Wow.
New York City. She's got a job as a law firm. My son, he's the older, he is in like recruiting and he's been living in New York City, has his own division he's building out. So very different businesses. So I
Yeah,
never thought of Rush as an heirloom to my kids. And maybe that's because I'm my transactional background, right? I want them to build their own things. Listen, if they wanted to come back, that's one thing. But I want them to explore their own backgrounds, their own experiences, and
yeah,
really enjoy that aspect of things. To be locked into, hey, I want you to do this. It's
yeah.
really not how I thought about the business.
Do you think it's a little ironic that they both chose to live and work in New York in somewhat high pressure jobs like you did when you grew up?
Well, they had a high pressure home life, so they could fit in right away.
That's
No, I,
good.
I mean we have a lot of family back in New York City too.
Mm,
So, wasn't surprising. I think if you're a young adult, like in your 20s, New York is a really cool place to be because you see the best and the worst of everything.
yeah,
So I really encourage that experience for them.
yeah. Good for you. That's awesome. And so they're kind of doing their thing. And then what do they think about you running this business now? Now that you're watching it scale, building a division of wholesale, starting to franchise it, you're starting to expand.
I think they're proud, still proud of it. If
Yeah.
my daughter, actually, I ask her a lot of legal questions
Oh,
for
nice.
certain
Yeah.
things that come up.
Still using child labor. I love it.
Exactly. Or I see something interesting in the area and I send it to her. Or, like there's a change going on, or there's something's going on in this field, or she's going to be working in a restructuring group, a big, big, law firm in New York. see, there's a lot of restructures that goes on. The business here is my business, right? So I'm
Yeah.
not private equity. I funded everything. So it's very
Yeah.
unusual to be this size and scale with
Yeah.
just one owner that owns everything. So I
Yeah.
think that also perspective is different.
I do want to ask a bunch of questions around this because it is very unique. I've actually even heard of a franchisor that's doing it the way that you're doing it, which is very interesting and very cool and admirable. But before we move into the business side of it, I am curious now what your wife thinks about all this transition from being high finance to starting a health food company in Boulder. I mean, what was that conversation like? How did you convince her?
Well, first of all, to be fair, I told her before I got married, and I always revert back to this, I want to move to Boulder. So I kind of hedged it up, and she's like, yeah, 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 right.
Yeah.
So yeah, quitting my job and just quitting and saying I'm doing this uh, was challenging, I would say.
Yeah.
She I wouldn't have moved to Boulder if she didn't like Boulder. Like we
Mhm.
flew out, checked it out. She really loved it. My family was very supportive of travel and period and wanted to really, support us trying to make this move. Like,
Yeah.
and when I say supported, they would come out, they would visit.
Nice.
My oldest brother eventually moved out here, probably about 10 years after we moved out. So they were very positive about it. My wife's family, it was quite a challenge
Hmm.
for them to accept it because, quite frankly, it was very high position at a bank. Most people wouldn't just give that up
That's
and
right.
do this. But I think it was a little bit of desperation for me and my own mental well being to
Yeah.
do that. And I wanted to do something different. I think too many people get stuck in these careers. And I think going back to my own kids, I think they saw, at least are aware that we made some big changes. And I always want, and I think people are not rewarded enough for making those changes when they feel they should or want to.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I mean, I will say that that's incredibly beautiful because I think that that's absolutely right. You get stuck in comfortability and the status quo, and it's expectations. To be honest with you, like just what people expect you to do at a certain age and time, and so it's a tremendous amount of effort and determination to do what you did at the time that you did it, giving up what you had. So that's great. And then, what does your wife think about it now?
She loves it. She loves it
Yeah,
here. She loves it.
yeah,
Listen, it's hard to own your own business. Like
oh
anyone who
yeah,
says it isn't,
yeah,
kudos to them, right? Like,
yeah,
but it is, there's and it wasn't like I just went like straight up. There's
yeah,
ups, there's downs, there's
oh yeah,
challenges
oh yeah,
for everyone. And digressing back to my kids, sometimes I explain to them, hey, I'm really worried about this. And even talking to them later in life, it got them worried, which was the last thing I was trying to make them
mm,
aware
mm,
opposed to
yeah,
making them worried. I was trying
yeah.
to educate them. So, but that was rare, very few, but
Yeah.
they've told me that.
Wow. So trying to expose them to the realities of it, it actually like imprinted something on them as well.
Yeah, and I think if I was to do it again, I would probably couch those realities a little bit
Yeah.
more. I
Mute
would have
them. You mean
softened it
like
a little bit more.
soften a little bit. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, not be like I'm really worried or this and that.
Yeah.
Because
I
the last thing I would want them to do is worry.
yeah, I've
I
talked
wasn't
to
really truly worried either, like
yeah. I think that it makes sense. I mean, I think it's a different mindset when you're building a business too, right? And as a dad, like I struggle with this all the time and I build businesses as well. So I go through the same journeys. I don't think I've cried more in the last 4 years than I have in my entire life. Yeah. It's just been unbelievable, right? I don't know how else to explain that, but I've cried like half a dozen times and it's like unbelievable just with these stupid ups and downs on these businesses. There are moments where I've shared with my wife and it's hard to process for her. And then she gets really worried. And then I'm like, no. We're going to solve it. I'm going to figure it out and we're going to solve it. Like, it's not like the world is ending. You don't have to take the kids out of gymnastics. It's okay. Like,
yeah,
we'll figure it out. Like, we're not selling the house. We're not going to be destitute just yet. We might, but not just yet. And then I'm like learning that I can't share everything. I have to like mute it a little bit because it's unfair for her because I'm in it. I'm in this vortex and she has no context. And and I accidentally share something that comes out of left field when I'm in an emotional state and weak. It can spin off and be perceived in such a wild way with no context or boundaries.
and I think that's extremely well said. Like when you're living it, Like you have a bad day. It's fundamentally, it's one bad day, right?
That's
Like
right.
and it's really, I even joke how lonely being a CEO can be.
Yeah.
It can be very lonely because you don't
Yeah.
want to share the challenges sometimes just because you don't want to worry people. But you also, especially with the kids, I wanted them to see the whole business, right?
That's right.
And my wife, right? So uh, I think I would have done it slightly differently, but I exposed them to the business, and I thought it was really important. I think one of the reasons they're so successful now is they were exposed. So it's
Yeah.
that catch 22, right? Like I think you really have to, like you said, pick and choose what you're sharing and how you're sharing it.
Exactly. Yeah. I am now curious about the business, if you don't mind me switching gears a little bit.
Good.
So how many corporate units do you have? And
There's only 2 corporate units.
got it. So then the next question is, why franchise? What made you do that after 10 years of 14, if my math is right, 14 years of being in business?
Yeah, so I went wholesale actually for 7 years of it.
Mm-hmm.
So we were in 40 states with Whole Foods, H-E-B, Costco's,
And when you say wholesale, you're talking about like packaged goods, right? Packaged version of
packaged
it.
goods
Yeah.
in a grocery store
Got it. Yep. Great.
with frozen forms of the bowls,
Yeah, it's
which came
perfect.
about. I was trying to get people in and out faster. And we pioneered that area also. And that's why I said you never want to get into the teaching business because we had to
Mm-hmm.
explain, oh, you're not going to get stoned from eating hemp granola,
Yeah.
right? Or this is what a mango looks like. It's a
Yeah.
fruit that we're putting in a bowl.
Yeah. You let
So
someone else do the education, but you sound like you were stuck in doing the education.
yeah, so
You created the channel. Yeah.
I had a team and we would travel around, do demos and stuff like that. We were at Expo West quite a bit,
Mm-hmm.
and we built a pretty big business. And then overnight, the co-packer was co-packing 12 separate businesses. I was one of 12. He went out of business and
Hmm.
got arrested, and we couldn't get our product out.
Oh. Wow.
So that was one of the more challenging times in my life. And then someone who had a lot of experience as a franchisee convinced me to go into franchising, which I always kind of poo-pooed because I didn't think people would care the way we cared or
Yeah.
emulate the business the way I wanted it to emulate to the consumer. He really showed me, hey, you should do it this way. And then I built a real incredibly infrastructure.
Yeah.
So I build bottom up and I always have. So I build incredible infrastructure to make sure we can execute and execute well.
Yeah.
And I knew I wasn't in this business to spin in and out of every 2-3 years like private equity does, right? They
Yeah.
don't give a crap, honestly.
Mm.
So I was really doing the things that would do my best to instill success with our partners, the franchisees.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we're at.
So when you say bottom up, like, can you share a little bit about like one or two things that you're talking about that's a little bit different about bottom up? Like
Sure.
what things are you harping on here? Yeah.
So we have like every call is taped. Every how to make anything is videoed. Every marketing asset we ever created is
Oh,
online for them to access. They have myself and all my employees' cell phone numbers.
yeah.
So they access us
So you
for any assistance.
pre-documented everything. There's an operating
Yeah.
procedure for everything.
And video and every aspect of it. So
Yeah.
there's no mystery to it.
Yeah. It wasn't a catch up. It was like basically exhaustive and comprehensive, bottom up.
Yes.
Got it.
So I wanted to do my best to instill success and make
Yeah.
it as easy. So some of the things we do for our franchisees is most franchisors make money on food and equipment.
Mm.
Legally, I can do that. I don't do that because I want any rebate to go back to the franchisee, not to me, which
Mm.
is unheard of. No one does that. I do that because their success ultimately is our success. And I'm not looking to spin in and out of this every 2 years or 3 years, right? So our whole perspective was different. We do open forum calls, we get everyone's opinions on things, and then, we try and make the best educated decision to ensure success.
And how many franchisees do you have?
Franchise stores or franchisees.
Franchise stores.
So roughly around 55.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
In
So nice
25
steady growth.
states we are. So we have a lot of different states.
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
it sounds like, I'm assuming you have a high NPS and people are happy and making money and doing good.
Yeah. I mean, it's really an interesting time economically speaking, but we have not been as impacted as a lot of businesses. Health and wellness is only growing in these
Yeah, I agree.
things. And, listen, no one knows what tomorrow can bring, but I always focused on math, right? So cost of goods meant something to me. So, our cost of goods roughly 25%, and those are hard numbers that, so you operate a really quantifiable where labor should be, where cost of goods should be, so it's a very mathematically driven model. And I think ultimately that's very good for the franchisees and
Yeah,
us.
it gives a lot more guidance for sure. Yeah, for franchisees that might not necessarily come from business entrepreneurship. I think that's
Because
so key.
I think a lot of times people start businesses, but they don't think of the mathematics behind the business, right? I'm going to
Absolutely.
build it, this and that. My perspective was very different, right? So
Yeah.
it's very mathematical and analytical, and we should do this now.
Yeah.
Still, there's challenges. Nothing's that simple, but it always is in the background, and it gives perspective and opportunity for growth.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love this story so much, and thank you for sharing. I'm going to switch gears again. So,
Sure.
as it relates to business and being a franchisor and a wholesaler and owning your own two corporate locations, what are the big initiatives? What's success look like for you as the CEO of Rush Bowls for the next chapter?
Well, next chapter means a lot. First of all, I've written a manuscript of all this and
Nice.
the ups, the downs. So I do want to get a book published with it. So
Heck yeah, that's
I'm
awesome.
excited about that. It's pretty exciting because it's just a lot of craziness, especially in the trading world.
Yeah.
And how to make that change, and certainly like everything else, owning your own business, it's not different things. Where I view us is a health and wellness brand, right?
Mm.
So it's retail, but a big wholesale arm. And then, I am a huge believer that health and wellness is gonna kind of just get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So not only do we have Rush Bites, complementary products that we're going to be launching in wholesale, when they say wholesale, retail stores, but also unique products that complement our current business and opening. We have roughly, between 15 to 20 stores to open this year into next. So
Hmm.
we have a lot of stores to open and really spread the message of health and wellness and joy, because I think you have to be somewhat joyous, have joy in this type of wanting to do this type of business. And that's really my objective short term. Longer term, is really eventually have another CEO like myself running the company, but that's kind of ways down the line.
Very cool. Very, very cool. And then switching gears again, what are your goals as a dad in this next chapter? What does success look like for you in this next phase?
I think, travel a little more travel with my kids,
Oh,
honestly.
yeah?
That would be one of my dreams, is really go travel
Yeah.
a little bit more with them,
Yeah.
and for them to view me differently, in a way, less the business owner, more the dad in a way,
Yeah.
and seeing how they develop and how I can be supportive to them is exciting for me.
That's really cool. I love that. And I can't even imagine what it's going to be like to travel with adult children because I'm still stuck. My kids are 6 and 8, so I'm still stuck in like, you know what I mean? Like I'm already like stressed out the moment we think about traveling. I'm already doing the night before packing and preparing and
Well, the
all that
nice
stuff.
thing is like you have your own rooms.
Exactly. Yeah.
It may
Yeah.
cost more, but it's all yours.
Yeah. It's brilliant. Yeah. Get a little more comfort on the travel.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, let me switch gears here and then let me ask you my rapid fire questions I love to ask every guest. So there's some symmetry to the show. If you have one piece of advice for soon to be parents or other parents, what advice would you give?
I think, especially if you're an entrepreneur, I would show my kids everything. I was in a thing with a elementary school, and they had a concept of teaching every complex math, whether multiplication to like first graders, division, addition, subtraction, or second graders, whatever it was. And I thought it was really a great way to be, because if the kid didn't get it, who cares? But some kids really picked up on it. And I think it really was a great way to approach it. So I would be open with my kids about what the business is, why, to a certain specific education you can get, but I would be very open about it. Again, I would modulate it a little bit more than I probably did, but I would definitely be pretty open about it and have them experience it, see it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that is really great. And takeaway is I had no idea how proud they were of it.
Yeah,
I
that's
was
so
going in
cool.
every day and they were really proud of the business. And
Yeah.
I think it was an incredible takeaway for me. Something I didn't factor.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. I got to incorporate that and get them laboring in my business, because I don't know if they'd be proud of it at the way that I've insulated them from it. So I got to get them out there cleaning pools and stuff. Yeah. I started a bunch of businesses, but one of them is a pool cleaning company. Yeah, here locally. Yeah. So.
But I think you'd be surprised.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's a pretty interesting thought. Yeah, I like that. Is there one thing that you were very surprised about yourself after becoming a parent?
I think, well, how incredible it is to be a parent, I think, and how independently thinking the kids are. Like very dynamically different thinking, and your approach needs to be different for each child too. Like one general approach may not work for one kid and works great for another. I was surprised about that, I think, as a parent.
Yeah. Yeah, because they come from you, but it's like they're so different.
Right. Because very different thinking and different approaches, and good and bad and different.
Yeah, it's very cool. Very good. Do you have a favorite show, book, or podcast that you would like to share?
Well, one of my favorite books is Undaunted Courage by, I believe, William Ambrose. That's a great book about the Lewis and Clark expedition. It's probably one of my favorite books ever.
Nice.
But I listen to a lot of different podcasts. So I'm always looking different things in terms of TV. I just whatever's decent.
Whatever's on.
Yeah, I'm not.
So podcast wise, you're constantly consuming. So it sounds like you're learning a lot.
I read a lot too, and I try to stay current in different things.
Yeah, that's really great.
I'm still, I like finance, so I read a lot of finance stuff. So
that's awesome. I love it. Yeah. That's great. And then to bring us home, when you're not building Rush Bowls to the next big company and being a super dad that's going to start traveling with your kids, what do you do for fun? What are your downtime activities?
I hike a lot. I play sports. I play tennis.
You're so Boulder. I love it.
Yes.
You really leaned in. I love it. Good for you.
And my wife is very active too, so I try to keep up with her and her death marches. I mean, hiking. So stay active and that's really fun for us. And travel obviously is a passion of ours. I love to travel, and I hope to travel a lot more too.
It's amazing. Andrew, thank you so much for taking some time to share your story and your perspective with me. I really appreciate it. I've learned a lot.
Well, thank you for having me on the show. It's so nice to meet you here, and look forward to future conversations.
Yeah, let's definitely stay in touch. We'll talk soon, okay?
Okay, take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.